Do you want to use weapon and components of defeated opponents for yourself, or even sell them? Or dismantle abandoned ships? Then you are right here. Because in this guide, we show you how to get weapons and components from shut down opponents or dismantle abandoned ships from other players to get your profit or benefit from it. And of course, also how you can sell the weapons and components accordingly and whether it's worth it for you. And especially for bounty hunters and players who are regularly at outposts and have to deal with abandoned old ships from other players, this is definitely worth it. Because even if the sale prices of components and weapons is significantly below the new price, it is an additional free income, which is especially very fast. And of course, all weapons and components can also be used on your own ships, free of charge. Already, for the smallest and simplest bounty missions like the very low risk target missions or low risk target missions, you have corresponding opponents, which leave components and equipment for you. Because not only the pilot itself with his equipment is of use to you, but also the ship's items. But you should make sure not to completely destroy your opponents, but to put them in a so-called soft dead status. And that means to make the opponent incapacitated, but not to completely hunt the ship down and blow it up. And for this, distortion weapons are at least partially a recommendable armament, because these do not cause direct damage to components or weapons or destroy your opponent. So you can, for example, deliberately put the opponent in the soft dead status with energy weapons. In addition, missions or encounters outside of atmospheres are suitable, because the fall damage when shutting down an opponent in the atmosphere is added. Here, usually not much remains of your opponent. But even in this case, you can still collect one or the other weapon, and that goes relatively quickly. As a basic requirement, you have to bring a tractor beam attachment with a multi-tool or the MaxLift tractor beam with you. And of course, a possibility to take the items accordingly with you. That means a one-seat fighter is no option here. If you have managed to shoot down NPCs, you can start right away and simply remove the components and weapons from the holder with the tractor beam and load them into your cargo hold. With player ships, it may be necessary to bring them into the port unlocked status, but more on that in a moment, because we will show you how to do this in detail in the second part. Deployed weapons and components can be used directly on your own ship, depending on the size of your own ship's weapons. But for this, you also have to unlock your ports first, remove your own weapons and attach the new ones. For a later sale, this is of course irrelevant. Also the condition of the component or weapon, so the damage level of these components and weapons is currently less significant because the sale prices are usually the same here. A few more tips for handling with the tractor beam. Hold the R key and move your mouse. This allows you to move objects. With the R key and the mouse wheel, you rotate objects. And this way you can also stow everything safely. Not less interesting are the abandoned ships and vehicles of other players, which you usually find at every outpost and at every station. And these are usually real gold mines, because these ships has various components in various sizes and of course weapons, which you can use and sell yourself. And there are a lot of these ships around the verse. The condition is, however, that the ship is either on a landing pad or outside a weapon-free zone, because only then you can use your tractor beam and store the corresponding components and weapons. Here we found an abandoned Drake Corsair. But in order to access the components and especially the weapons, we first have to unlock the ports. That means that we can remove parts and weapons. And this applies not only to abandoned other ships, but also to your own. The easiest way to do this is to take a seat in the pilot's chair and press the right Alt key and K. Here you will receive a message in the display, ports unlocked. And of course this also works via the radial menu. At present, not all ship components are physically physicalized or usable, for example the shield generator here. But the jump drive has already physicalized, and the cooler and other components also, and these can also be easily removed and loaded with the tractor beam. Or you can use them for yourself. But in any case, make sure which component size it is. Here we have component size 2, that means we need a ship that also uses the same size. The components are otherwise compatible. Larger ship components are especially worthwhile for a sale, because here the ship components are usually in size 2 or 3, and the larger a component and the higher quality military components is, the more there is here for the payment. In our case, we were lucky, because high quality military components were installed here. Nevertheless, standard components are also worth it, because we have no costs here and also do not take any risks. We can simply sell the items. But it can be more difficult for a ship to store larger components from the interior. For this, consider alternatively open hatches or alike. And for storage professionals, the combination with a salvaging ship like the Drake Vulture or even an Argo SRV for towing into the weightlessness for a easier disassembly is possible. And don't worry, correspondingly found items or weapons are not marked as stolen, and you can sell them completely normal and legally. And you will also not get a crime set here. But beware, if it is an active player ship, you will receive a crime stat. And as soon as you enter the ship, you will receive a warning here. So watch out. In addition, the component theft as well as the weapon theft are punishable here, and it is a stolen good. In order to sell components and weapons accordingly, you need at least a dumper's depot or other trading place where you can buy items and components. Here we recommend, for example, Cousin Crow's on Horizon, as you can not only sell components here, but also a variety of weapons. And in addition, you will also find another sale option on Horizon in the Crusader showroom. Alternatively, feel free to check out the various dumper depots that are distributed across the verse. And you can find a complete overview of where you can buy and sell corresponding items, for example at aircool.games. Here you can simply put the corresponding items in your shopping basket and let yourself be shown where they are sold. Because the corresponding sales places also buy goods. And this way you have always an overview of where you can sell items. Alternatively, you can of course also store them in your local inventory and install them on your own ships. For our little loot trip at the Drake Corsair, we made a good 50,000 Alpha USC profit. And since you can find ships and weapons at almost every outpost and in every area, it is worth it to have a corresponding ship and at least a tractor beam with you. Because this way, you always have an additional profit or even repair material in case you run out or one or the other component. And with the upcoming engineering system, we will learn a few more extensions in the area of ship components, maintenance and more. But until then, I say goodbye. Until next time. And if you have any additional tips and tricks, feel free to write in the comments, check out our Discord or our Twitch live streams daily. So I say goodbye, and as always, see you in the verse. Thanks for watching.